I don't think there's a question. Vice President Kamala Harris will be the Democratic nominee on the ticket in November.
White women are the only group that identify themselves as marginalized people but vote majority in Republican right along with white men in general.
And I get it. I want to get over the stress of politics and this and that. I'm like, well, that's also how we end up here again in another 4 years.
Generally, you're dealing with a very unpopular administration that needs a lot of rehab in order to get people invested enough.
So here's what they're going to start throwing at you. Here's how you about to get ready. We don't have much time.
Hello, beautiful Black people. I am going to tell y'all why I convened you here, but we all know, because I really think there is nothing else to discuss right now other than Kamala potentially being the nominee. The fact that it's still potential, I think, is ridiculous. But anyway, Kamala running for president and a potential Kamala administration, and whether we think Kamala can win, will win, or if that's even a worthwhile discussion. I put up my thoughts. Like, I put up a short YouTube video saying what I think. I think she has an incredible uphill battle because of a million different prejudices and silly reasons America has. Then there are some practical reasons when it comes to, like, the fact that she's a former prosecutor. This is the next thing, depending on how you politically feel about that. I hope she wins. Like, I would like to be wrong. I think there are a lot of things working against her. And I think the America that I know, I am not confident. I see people, I'm like, people want to be optimistic, and I think that's nice, but I think there's a thin line between optimism and delusion. And I see people trying to talk about it like it's of course, like you're being ridiculous to even think these things will happen or these kind of criticisms will be made. And I'm like, they're making the criticisms already. They're already doing it. We've
been, of coursing ourselves closer to fascism like the past 2-3 election cycles. I do not know when we're going to learn. But yeah. Yeah, he could never wins. No, he could last 2 terms.
I'm not trying to be surprised again. I remember when Hillary won, Hillary lost. See, look at me trying to rewrite history. And I think that's because, by the way, that's what a lot of people in my comments be doing. They on this video, they keep being like, but edit, Hillary did win. She won the popular vote. Oh my God. Like, that. Could you come here to reality with me? Did I miss her term? Like, let's actually, like, you could. It might be nice if it worked that way, but it doesn't. So you understand what I'm saying, right? And also, why are we acting like this white woman with all the connections in the world and who had been primed for that spot and her chances are the same as what Kamala's are? Why are we acting like we also Kamala's never run for president before, so we don't have any sense of how the public feels about her or how the Black community feels about her or what, you know what I mean? I think there are still a lot of other different circumstances. I think it's exigent, you know what I mean? Like the Trump thing, but I think people are underestimating the overwhelming amount of people that would need to turn out to beat what will be Republican voter turnout for Donald Trump. And I think people are underestimating just how prejudiced America is. And it's really given me the amount of white women who've been in my comments saying things like, I think you're being too pessimistic, and oh, she's pretty, or oh, she's this, and all these shallow things that they think will work for her. They were like, oh, the new generation, the youth will love that she's a woman that's inspirational. I was like, what? I'm a Black woman in America, so I just don't know where the y'all live. I'm like really seeing what they're saying, and I'm like, wow, that's how you think they give it up for Black folk, like Black women, like
yeah. It's crazy.
Like,
because,
are we watching the same? Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, as a Black woman watching everything unfold. So here's a couple of things just for me, right? And I'd say this is my opinion and mine alone. I know that initially, if this was not today in the circumstances that we are in right now, how tight it is, how rocky things are, how we have just but nothing, right, in between us and having Donald Trump as possible president. So whatever we can get, that's where we are right now. But if this was not the situation and we actually had options and time, you know, it wouldn't be Kamala for me. But right, this is it. There's no other conversations to have except for, I feel like, uniting, but still being clear that, hey, this is going to be hard. Y'all sitting here acting like, oh, this is just so easy. And, you know, she repped that pink and green. So it's going to be easy. She's Black. So it's going to be easy. She's Asian. So it's going to be easy, you know, but here in America, they don't like people with vaginas, right? And especially if they say that they're Black. A woman, America hates them. A Black one, or somebody who identifies, we don't know, because I don't know, I never heard her say she was Black. She probably did, or Asian, whatever.
I mean,
she's a minority, right?
Right.
And they don't like them. Product of migrants don't like, they're going to spew out so much nastiness and so much hate. And I reposted something that Scotty had tweeted out, basically saying, y'all, no matter what party you stand for, it's going to be it's going to be hard, especially for women. The people that are going to have these think pieces with microphones is going to get on. Not only is it going to be talking, it's going to be people on their podcast talking about the value of a woman. And it may be really daunting. They may be trying to really find things to say how women can't lead, how they're not good to lead. All these conversations are going to come into play. And people are like, don't think about those things. Like, girl, it's going to be everywhere. When Donald Trump was running in 2016, it was so much hate, right? Just from his campaigning, so much hate. And then under his presidency, so much racism, the uptick of violence, the uptick of people using the N-word, hard ER online to people's faces, mass murders directed towards Black folks. There was so much of this. And people are like, but it's just not. No, it affects us mentally. It does. So it is something that we can talk about, but there is a job to be done right now. I can say that too. There's a job to be done right now. But we can't act like it's going to be easy.
I think what's interesting is that no matter which way we look at it, this Kamala election, coronation, whatever we want to call it, it will at least be a referendum on our side, right? Because what I constantly think about is that for the past 4 years, it's been drilled in my head by everybody Gen X and above that but Trump, anybody but Trump. We need to vote call from up in because but Trump. For me, the way I'm looking at it, then when we switch to Kamala, the argument should be the same. Right, like it will be a time when at least I get to see, I guess me as a younger Democratic voter, like how fake really is the party, because I have heard people say that like, oh, the only conversation that's useful here to me is the one about vice president, because that's at least something that maybe can still we can have an effect on, or we can pontificate on. But we do Pete Buttigieg as the VP. Oh, then she's not electable at all. What happened to the but Trump? Like the argument never centered on any strength, which is the whole flaw. Is we don't present any strength on the Democratic side. It's just like we just need someone who is an alternative to the dictator. And if so that's the case, everything else should be irrelevant.
I think everybody, like, I feel like what I'm getting a lot from people is everybody wants to talk about like what should be. They want to be contending with the situation we're in as though America is what it should be instead of what it is. And like, I think the best way you defend against an attack is to be prepared for it. And people that have this energy, like they don't want us to say what are the kinds of attacks the Republicans, and not just Republicans, the Republicans are, because that I'm not even worried about them. I'm talking about the regular liberals who y'all think Democrats voter base, right? Though the independents and all of them. I'm talking about the left. I'm talking about America, what America really is. If you are a Black person, a Black woman, or a mixed one, or an immigrant, and how many different lines of attack and how many different criticisms and how many different ways Kamala Harris is exposed. But people are having this energy like, that's you trying to be negative. And it's like, pretending something isn't going to happen isn't going to make it not happen. Like putting your head in the sand. And the reality is, when America and elections and stuff have a lot to do with narratives. It has a lot to do with media. It has a lot to do with what takes legs. And so it's best to take your knowledge of what you've seen America do countless times and be prepared for what they're going to do and what they were going to do. Kamala is at a disadvantage, even when you look at it, because to what Rebecca was saying, right? It's like, we know what we're supposed to be doing. We know we should be having a conversation about VP, right? But the fact that we can't really necessarily have that because there are still people in the party who haven't endorsed her, and it still seems like the question is up whether or not they're going to try to have an open convention or something. That in and of itself is going to be something that irritates the out of Black people. That whole circus is going to create a whole nother thing. Then you have the problem of the fact that there are a bunch of Black people who are going to feel like Kamala. We already see it, right? Even you say like, oh, is she Black? So then they're questioning her Blackness. blackness, right? Then there are people who question her blackness. They're saying, oh, she's not black because she's biracial, but she is Indian. You know, she's biracial. Okay, so they're saying that. Then you see the people who feel like, oh, because migrant, or because she has an immigrant background, her parents were immigrants. So that's something that they're attacking her and not feeling the need to rally around her. She is exposed in a lot of different nuanced ways that doesn't like lend her the same kind of support. And I think like we have to remember, to me, a good marker to look at is when Kamala ran for president herself the first time. I remember immediately saying, listen, Black people have liked her online enough, generally enough so far, but the minute she runs for president, you are going to see the narrative completely switch. She's not going to be someone who could get the Black vote in the way that you think. I don't mean that the majority of Black people won't vote Democrat, but the amount of Black support, Black people rallying behind her, you would see for a figure like a Barack Obama, you'll never see for Kamala. And we immediately did see that. Black people did not get behind her. That's when the you know what I mean? Kamala, all that different kind of narrative started in a lot of respects, I think. And I don't think it's going to be that Black people aren't gonna get behind her. I think this is just gonna be, we're gonna see a lot of different like attacks coming out, and it seems like we're not positioning ourselves best to defend against them, right? Because we're going with this like, America's good, we're so great, you know what I mean? Like this is
gonna be great. It's just
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this. Okay, I want to take us back to 2007, 2008, when Black people did not support Barack Obama. Like, they literally thought he had no chance. Black people, Black political figures were endorsing and coming out for Hillary Clinton because they said, listen, this is America and Black people don't have a shot. A Black man doesn't have a shot at being president. Doesn't matter if he has a white mom. Doesn't matter if he went to Harvard. Doesn't matter if he's a senator. He doesn't have a chance. And so it really took Barack Obama winning the support, like winning primaries, winning support of the mainstream, debating, performing well, giving great speeches in order to really give Black people the confidence that they needed to come out full force for Barack Obama and have incredible turnouts in 2008, in 2012. And those years are important because the Black turnout in those years where Black people were voting for Barack Obama at 95%, that is actually what secured his victories. Like those Black walls that we put up are what secured the victory for Barack Obama. All criticisms notwithstanding. It's Win with Black Men events. You've seen close to 100,000 people show up online on these calls, Black people, to support Kamala Harris in a way with energy. I'll be honest, it's some 2012 energy on Facebook right now. Like we are a couple steps away from grandma's putting Kamala Harris's face on the mantle on a piece of china. Like we are so close. Like she getting real close. There's some energy. And I think that energy is important. And I'll say this is the last thing. I actually think they kind of played it perfectly. Like Joe Biden set the bar. God bless him for all the good things he did and whatever. But like Joe Biden set the bar so low for what people gotta like approve of and like be excited about and commit to going to vote for, that Vice President Kamala Harris looks incredible right now in comparison. Like we were gaslighting ourselves to believe that this old man who accomplished a lot, like whatever you want to say, and did his thing, whatever. But we were convincing ourselves that we had to go out and vote for him and that he was the better candidate. Though he was, like, anything's a better candidate than Donald Trump. But like we were convincing ourselves. And so now you have Kamala Harris here who is vigorous, can make an argument, can complete a sentence, is able to debate, like is able to make the case for the policies that she wants to push forward. And I think that just relieves a lot of the pressure that people were feeling, that they had to go gaslight their friends, gaslight their family members, gaslight themselves into saying that Joe Biden was the best for this country. And so that changes the dynamics in a way that I think is really important for voter turnout. I think the vote was severely depressed. Like you were not going to see voter turnout in Philly or Atlanta or Detroit in ways that they need. And now there's a chance. And I think that's a significant part of this conversation that we can't overlook.
I hope you're right. I hope you're right. And I think she's a better chance than Joe Biden. I think that for sure. I don't dispute that. I don't know if I think she has the best chance or if it still means that she'll win, right? Because I think, first of all, I think we have to remember what kind of, especially when people are comparing her to, I don't know, like Obama or like Obama's time, or
she's very
Hillary's time,
sorry,
even, but Obama's time, Obama as a candidate specifically. Obama is inspiring to people in a different way for a lot of different reasons that is special to Barack Obama. Like, all things considered, Barack Obama is somebody who branded well, communicated well, who gave speeches that made you feel. To this day, even with the knowledge of what I know of hindsight and everything and yada yada yada, an Obama speech will still hook me. You know what I mean? Then Obama is also somebody that gave Black people like also what we like to see. Obama might have been mixed and all those different narratives, but Obama had him. He gave him an unimpeachably Black family, the Black nuclear family, Black success, Black excellence, all the things that we like. Like when you think of he was cool, when you think what we talk about, like the fact that Barack Obama had no scandals, had this, there was a lot that Barack Obama did speak to that made him that figure. And I'm not saying that it's not, I hope, I don't have Facebook. I want Kamala, I want it to be like where, to some degree, right? Like when it comes to, I believe Donald Trump is an abomination. So I obviously want the Democrats pick to win, right? And that if that's Kamala, I want it to be, it's Kamala. I want Kamala to win, whoever the Democrats have, because I've explained this a million times why that is. That being said, if we were having a conversation beyond this, if this were a private private home conversation amongst us as Black people of what I want to see in this world, I don't look forward to what the actual cultural impact will be for the first Black woman president to be a former prosecutor. And this is beyond the discussion of what people want to have on whether or not she was a tough on crime prosecutor, she was a progressive prosecutor. I don't give a prosecutor at all, right? Like what that means for Black people continuing to invest into the criminal system and believing if they become, actors with it, that changes the whole systemic. I think we already have a problem right now, I believe, of Black politicians who are former law enforcement or have law enforcement sympathizer kind of opinions, and what that has bred in our community in terms of how we feel and what initiatives we do and don't support. So I think culturally, in terms of in just how I feel personally, I think the impact will be miserable for the generations of Black girls that I know will want to go be prosecutors too, and I want to go do this. But that's just my private. That I don't think that feeling outweighs, I think, the pressing moment, the urgency of not letting Donald Trump take hold. So I want Kamala to win. I want her to ride. I want it to be that people feel like, but I have a hard time. I'm going to read a thing from Frederick Joseph, and I want to hear what y'all think.
Wait, can I add one thing real quick?
Yeah.
Olay, to your point about she's better than Joe Biden, but against Trump. I was watching the news today, and I just want to put out a point that says that, yes, in the decision for Biden to step down, it was through them showing polling data that Kamala barely beats Biden on almost all polling points that matter. However, she loses to Donald Trump in every single battleground state. So when we say like we don't have a plan, we have a plan. It seems like we're banking on a plan for us to just on the Democratic side accept her as a nominee, and not knowing that just generally you're dealing with a very unpopular administration that needs a lot of rehab in order to get people invested enough. However, to Garrison's point and to your point, I think that you can sway a lot of the American public through being a charismatic speaker, through being a good speaker. And we haven't been able to see it. This is my hope. I could be projecting, but like I don't think we've been able to see it due to like the role she's had to play. But I'm getting head shakes. But I'm saying like when Garrison said she's kind of coming in with the perfect, as much of a blank slate in a firestorm as you can come into. All she has to do is be the type of person to rally people with enough speeches and have a not shit policy.
Here's what y'all don't get. I'm gonna let you talk, Daddy. I swear right now. I think what I have to say is what y'all don't get is what seems charismatic. What a person is supposed to be that's charismatic for a man is penalized, vilified on a woman, right? That's the reason why they're talking about calling her cackle and this and the next thing. There is not like. There's no angle like you're gonna see something special. I feel like we haven't in our lifetime. Obviously, we have the Shirley Chisholms, yada yada. Hillary Clinton is a woman, but she's not a black woman, But in terms of what our lifetime is, you're gonna really see the kind of scrutiny a black woman gets and how difficult it is to win. I'm telling you that on a lesser level of being in the courtroom, of being on the TV, of all the ways in which they critique black women, the things that you would traditionally would make a Barack Obama seem like a powerful speaker. Like, yes, you could win him with a powerful speaker. There's something visceral that people feel when women are powerful speakers, when women command a room, when a woman is you know what I mean? So that it's different. Like, that's the thing, right? It's like, yes, those things are traditionally what you would need to, you know what I mean, to be a winner, to be a this. But if that was how it works for women, that would be how it worked for women, but it isn't. You know what I'm saying? Like, so you're going to see the opposite extreme. It's the same way, like, Hillary wasn't personable and likable enough, right? Like, she's scowling, she this, but then they calling Kamala, talking about how Kamala's cackling. They already trying to attack, like, what was her dating history? And this is the next thing. And we have to also recognize that a lot of misogynoir and all these different things that Kamala will get in terms of how she's perceived and whether or not they even recognize. Because you know what I found crazy to see in my comments, what I'm getting a lot, I see this word a lot, and it actually blew me. Because Kamala could be many things, but incompetent she is not. But I've seen that so many times as well, because they're already trying to make that take hold. So there's a lens that black women are viewed through, that even with all the credentials in the world, the goalpost moves, they find a way to dismiss that, right? They'll talk about Ketanji Brown Jackson is the most damn educated and decorated, or one of them on the Supreme Court in recent times. Remember how they talked about her? Exactly. So what I'm saying is, it's like, yes, technically on the rules and the paper how it applies for everybody else, it's like, yeah, it would only need to be a charismatic speaker, this and the next thing. But if any of those rules actually applied in this situation, we wouldn't even be having this conversation, because Kamala is light years more qualified than a Joe Biden or a Donald Trump or any of them, right? So, like, the fact that we have to have this talk in and of itself is a reflection of, there's no, like, that's all you have to do when you're in the position that she's in. And she's going to get the scrutiny from every direction. You're going to have the fact that she can't give the same, like, even when you think about the, like, shallow things, right? Even when you're able to mobilize people for shallow shit, like Obama's hope, you know what I mean? And get people to buy in, or like the image of the Obama family, how everybody knew, we know the Obama's dogs. I know Sonny and them. Like, Kamala isn't able to give them the same thing. They already taking pictures, that viral pictures are just posted. Oh, her husband, you see her and this white man, they questioning her, all this. So it's all of that, right? Like, it's all these different things. And I'm not saying she can't overcome it. I just think we have to really, 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 really be prepared for that. It's not a just. Like, she doesn't have to just be charismatic. She doesn't have to just be competent. She doesn't have to just be better. She could run circle. First of all, Donald Trump isn't even trying to have the debate with her to, like, even allow her that, that win. But she could run circles around him, and they would be like, she's rude, she's arrogant, she's angry, she's this, she's cocky, all these different things. And for a woman, we've seen it. Women are indicted in the public square for being unlikable. That's all you need. I think we need to be thinking, instead of thinking Kamala just needs to be charismatic and all that or whatever, I think we need to think Kamala only just has to be portrayed as unlikable or some shallow thing, and that's enough for them to be like, people to think that's fine. Because to this day, you know how many people, like, to this day, even after we've seen a Donald Trump administration, we've seen all of it, we know what happens, and still when you bring up Hillary, people are like, oh, but Hillary is just exceptionally unlikable to me, and blah 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 blah, and blah 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 blah, and all those things to them still is enough for them to be like, yeah, that's not as bad as, I couldn't pick her though. Donald Trump is this, but I couldn't pick her, so yeah, Daddy, I'm sorry.
No, that's I mean, I agree with all of that, because it's like, when people talk about like you said, a charismatic speaker or whatever, we already have an idea of how they're gonna treat a black woman in the White House based off of, just look at how they treated Michelle Obama, and she wasn't even president; she's just the first lady. So even when people are like, "We need Michelle to come run," and I'm like, y'all see what she went through, and y'all think the country gonna get behind? No, y'all already hated her. And then secondly, it's like with Kamala, even in terms of being a charismatic speaker and creating a narrative that the people can get behind, I think on her part, she has, like we said, the black community hasn't rallied behind her. One, because of, her past as a prosecutor, but also I think people just haven't felt connected to her narrative. She doesn't really come out and claim like I'm here for Black people. I'm standing for my people. A win for me is like a win for Black people, whatever. And then also, is she talking about her South Asian identity? Is she going to be the voice that white women are going to get behind? So it's a lot of communities that she has to rally together. But then at the same time, the country hates a lot of these communities individually. So if they see all of these communities coming together, a rainbow coalition, it's like, okay, well then us white people are really going to get left behind if we get behind her. So that's where I see the idea of them getting behind a Trump, just to maintain that white supremacy. But when we talk about all these questions or not even questions, but when people just say, okay, she can't win because of this and da-da-da. Okay, at what point do we get to a conversation of, okay, what does she have? Like, what can she do? I think which is, right. We don't have a choice at this point. It's like, we got to figure it out.
But I think that's critical. The what can she do, and to your, like, an amazing point you make on people not feeling connected to her, right? It's like, because I've seen, and bringing up Michelle Obama, because I've seen in my comments, people be like, oh, it's not that she can't win because she's Black, because polling shows Michelle Obama would win, right? And first of all, no one is arguing that she just can't win because she's Black. That is not what I am saying. I don't think anybody's fucking saying that, right? Michelle Obama has the Barack Obama stimulus package. I think people even don't consider how much Barack Obama is the reason Joe Biden is president. Joe Biden has run for president several times. No one ever wanted him. The only reason the country was so desperate to accept him as the person to beat Trump is because people were clamoring for yesteryear. They felt like Trump had radically changed the country since 2016, and they wanted what felt familiar. And Joe Biden felt closer to the Barack Obama days. That's what it is, right? So Michelle Obama has that. She's Michelle Obama. This is now. But Kamala hasn't had that. In the years we know Kamala, yes, but Kamala has not become somebody like, we don't have a bunch of things that generally, like, the average person throws out about Kamala positive, and it works to her negative in so many respects, right? Like, because I think even the people who throw out negative things about Kamala, even when you talk about Kamala being a cop or Kamala being a prosecutor, can't talk about that too much in depth about what her actual record is. It's like just what little things have been thrown about her, and mostly it's been negative or things that the average Black American doesn't feel that connected to, I guess, like her biracial identity, her white husband, or this, whatever the next thing. She does have, like, I think, the thing I was supposed to read to y'all, for y'all, from Frederick Joseph, and y'all tell me what y'all think about this. He wrote a larger article, but I guess this isn't just a little piece, like, expanding on it for his Instagram. He said, respectfully, it appears that the mechanics of electoral math are not fully grasped by many. Kamala Harris cannot ascend to the presidency on the strength of mere vibes and internet memes. The previous election saw Donald Trump secure the second highest number of presidential votes in history, tallying over 74 million. For Kamala to win, she must likely exceed this substantial figure. People must question where these additional votes will originate. Kamala will secure the same Black turnout and loyal Democratic votes that Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama did. Joe Biden, an all-white man, managed to draw support from Republicans. It is unrealistic to think Kamala can replicate this. And even if she could, why would she court that demographic? Thus, what remains are the margins on the left. Young voters, pro-Palestinian advocates, and the disenchanted. She will likely need to engage these groups to solidify a win. That's what he said.
Do damned if you don't situation.
I mean, for me, right? Look, again, if we were not in the circumstances that we're in right now, my conversation would be so different. But right now, I feel like we got this, right? So being able to identify, which is great that because I feel the same way, Olay, to point out this is going to be a nice long stretch into November. And we have to understand that there will be difficulties. If we just sit in the Black president, first female, it's a beautiful moment to feel. I love it, but they don't allow us to just sit there. Right. We have to identify where they're trying to pull up and pull one on us while we over here just celebrating AKA and Black woman, right? It's beautiful. I would love to stand right here and be joyous in this occasion. Like the white folks that celebrate Donald Trump could celebrate the mediocre stuff that he does and just talk about that forever. We can't just do that over here because we're trying to win something. So I think that we gotta get ready for whatever they're going to try to throw, because how easy was it for people to like Kamala until she was running for president? Now we're like, ooh, not the cop.
Yeah.
Not the cop. See, we don't want to have that be the narrative. And we want to stay focused on, you know, what this is a difficult time that we're in. This is not just, do we want this? And this is what I said this in my own covering of this. I was like, now she's not, and I seen this on it's funny because I seen it online too. She's not the hero that we wanted, that we may have wanted, but listen, okay, she's what we need right now. She's all we got. So we gotta roll with it.
Yeah.
And so being honest, and you know, Garrison, you too, you brought that vibe that you're talking about. I felt it on day one. It's great to feel it, but unfortunately, we can't just stay there. It's great to see it and acknowledge it. The beauty of the Black women. I loved it all. I love whether or not I'm on that side of it, where I'm like, you know, I fuck with Kamala, you know, or not. It was still beautiful to see regardless. Black women coming together, being on a phone call, saying, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is what we're going to do. Being able to raise that amount of money in less than like 3 hours. And yes. And then do that for her. And having Black women who probably don't even get along on a regular day, Black leadership, just getting on that call to do what they need to do. It's beautiful to see, but we have to understand that this is going to be difficult. They're going to try to plant stuff in our minds to look at her sideways, which we already know these things. But right now, we have to focus on getting her to the finish line. It's what we have. And you did point out about Obama. True enough, we were in me, because I don't know how old y'all kids are, but you know, back in that time, I remember when a lot of like my daddy there's like, he can't win. It's good to see a Black man, but he can't win. And we were the millennials at the time, the babies, and we were just like, no, black man, we're gonna rally every day, we're gonna do all this stuff. And then he became president. But he had to win. He had to go out and do the work in that small amount of time too. He had to go out. I remember him and his wife coming onto FAMU's campus a couple of times, showing face, going around the schools. He stopped at FSU, but for like 2 seconds, and came over the tracks to the Black side, and he really invested into the community. And so seeing Kamala do more of that. I said this last week. She has been in the like they call her the DEI. We treated her like that too. Everywhere that we saw Kamala, because you know the running joke is we ain't never seen her, but when we did see her, she's on BET talking about, you know, I be outside. No, sis, no. What are you doing? Because no, right? I want the representation I want her to show up as somebody who is competent, because we know she is. She doesn't have to give us, you know, the hood slang or this. You don't have to. You like, show us what you are capable of. So in this time, up until November, I want to see more of her doing that. And I have seen, you know, her coming out and speaking and stuff. But girl, what is on the agenda? What are we talking about? How are we gravitating towards what we're going to do more for the Black community? Like, or for, because since you've only spoken about, or you've only shown up like on the Shade Room and stuff like that, like that's what they pick you for, like these TikTok videos, those things. I want to see more, and this is that time. It's beautiful to know that you're an AKA. It's beautiful to know that you're Black. It's beautiful to know that you're a product of migrants. But we want to see what else, what's the work going to look like? What we talking about? I want to see more presidential conversations in that respect. So
do y'all think that if she does decide to try to embrace either side of our identity more,
I'm here now.
It's a lot. It's moving us around.
I wanted to say, because as I hear Rebecca talk, I keep thinking like, man, and maybe I'm just Twitter brained, in which I'm like, that you're right. That is literally what Kamala needs to do. She needs to at least try to, in good faith, bring in the Black community to say like, I want to be a part. I identify and I want to help. But then another part of me says, if she shows up to try, like looking like she's trying to court the Black vote or trying to embrace part of a culture, because there's not already that documented breadcrumb, it like turns backwards,
right? Because they are already starting the narrative that she's only Black during election times. And I think to something Rebecca was saying about like the Obama administration or us having Obama, I think a lot of Black people now feel disenchanted with like, oh, what they thought Obama would be, and like, oh, voting for Obama, and kind of feel a very like the opposite, you know what I mean, feeling towards black candidates that I think might hurt her. And I'm gonna let Garrison talk right now, and then I'm gonna bring up what I think is the boogeyman in the corner we need to talk about, which is the white woman's vote. Garrison, go.
Oh, well, okay. I'm gonna transition then back to you, because that was what I was going to talk about. I was going to say, I think it's important for us to recognize that their politicians kind of create these windows. They create windows through which they want you to view them. And so the black window is going to be Kamala doing the little dance, and it's going to be her being an AKA, and it's going to be, you know, that kind of thing. That's going to be the black window. And it's terrible, but it's politics. It's right. The thing that raised, you know, $100 million or whatever, however many $1 million were raised specifically from black people. And because they did that, I'm just going to warn you, because they raised all these millions of dollars from black people in 48 hours doing that, the AKA, the frat, the HBCU playing that game, that's a signal that we just sent to her campaign that connects to us. Now we're on here saying like, hey, that doesn't connect to me, but the money is saying that connects. And so they're going to continue to do that. I'm warning you right now. You're going to see her show up as the black person for black people, but you're also going to have to recognize that over the last year and a half, however long it's been since Dobbs, I think that was 2022, she has effectively communicated to white women about abortion and access to abortion as being a fundamental right that Donald Trump is actively opposed to, that his Supreme Court justices and his court appointed judges are actively working against. And that has been a really effective message in that space. So the window for white women will be a lot about abortion. That's how she will show up in those spaces. And then, of course, you're thinking leftists. So they're going to talk about LGBTQ rights. Of course, they're going to talk about climate change. Those things are going to be a really huge part of it. Netanyahu is in the country this week. And so she has a real decision to make on how she navigates this Israel-Gaza conflict, the genocide that's happening there. It's really important that she comes out, I think, as left of Biden, but it's probably also important that she's still somehow managing to hold a center kind of position, right? And so she's going to have to try to keep all of these coalitions in tension from a legislative perspective. What I will say is that I do think that Democrats learned from 2020. I think they leaned in really hard on the justice kind of tone. I think they leaned in a way that has proven to be a mismatch with the rest of the country, unfortunately. I mean, you have to think back. In 2020, Kamala Harris, then Senator Harris, ran on like Kamala for the people. That was her motto. That was her slogan for her campaign, which when you think back, that's kind of crazy. It means nothing. I'm so sorry. Like, I have no idea what that means. Whereas especially if you compare it to, say, like Elizabeth Warren, who had like, you know, she has a plan or whatever the case may be, right? And I think those lessons of clarity and positioning yourself as a forward or future looking person, I hope that they've learned those lessons. I anticipate that they have, and that they will implement that as they march to the country. The good thing is that they have money. They have money to go to Pennsylvania, all over the state, all over Wisconsin, all over Michigan, and hopefully win in that very specific corridor on messaging alone. And they have some very senior, you know, campaign officials who I think can help get the job done in Jen O'Malley Dillon and others who I think are effective campaign managers. And so I think there's a chance to really position the campaign in ways that connect to people. And the last thing I'll say is that the gift, I hear you, Olay, and I agree with you. And I would never be one to try to diminish the Black woman kind of like hurdle that is very present in this conversation. So don't hear me say that. But I do think a gift in this election is Project 2025. You can, no matter what, always run against the explicit Heritage Foundation plan that is out there, that has been authored by so many of Donald Trump's people who he plans to reappoint in his administration because they are loyal to him. And so as long as you are positioning yourself as a counterfactual to that reality, I think or to that potential of Project 2025, I think there is some connection point. I think it has worked from a messaging perspective for the American people.
I First of all, I want to be clear. I want you to be right, Garrison. I'm rooting 1,000% for Garrison to be right. No part of me wants to see Kamala lose. In fact, listen, I am fully prepared to like say whatever it is that I can say in service of her winning. You know what I mean? As this goes on, as soon as they give us something, because as it currently stands, right, this is the thing. I think something people are like failing to consider when they think about the left in general is a lot of the left itself, not just like the liberals and the progressives or whatever, but like the left vote is not going to consider her a suitable alternative to Joe Biden because they're going to impute everything his administration did to her because she was the vice president. So they're not having that, right? Anybody who was like, no, because of Palestine, no, because of this, like, I think it's nice and hopeful, like, that people have, like, what is it, the quote she's saying, you know, something,
The
unburdened
coconut?
by what has been.
The
Unburdened by what has been.
Unburdened by what was.
I'm no longer
Right,
burdened by whatever she
people
did.
seeing.
which is kind of charismatic. Is what like not
Which
to,
one,
not
the
to go back
burden
with
or
that
the
horse.
coconut?
Huh?
Right.
Because
We made it a meme, but like it speaks towards Obama had hope. It's not Obama's hope, but it's a catchphrase.
I don't know what the coconut. I don't
know what it means to live in the context of what came before me and unburdened, but
yeah, that I'm like, I don't know if that wouldn't work for me, right? Like if I was just using my common sense, like you were a part of this administration, like I don't know who told you unburdened by what has been. I didn't unburden you, like actually still trying to hold you accountable. But like that being said, I know like the leftists who feel that way, who feel like because of Palestine, because of Gaza, all of these different things, like Joe Biden's administration, they're not going to be moved by her. Then as it comes to white women, I think, listen, this is not me just like, you know, saying, this isn't even a lie of me. This is an understanding of history. Like even white women's version and retelling of women's rights or suffrage or whatever, white women were squarely and explicitly on the side of them bitches cannot get anything before us. Like that has been the feeling that, and I have not lived my life in a way that has told me white women don't co-sign that belief system. Like that's not been, and white women are the only group, I said this in my video that I put on my YouTube, but white women are the only group that identify themselves as marginalized people, but vote majority and Republican right along with white men in general, even with the threat of like, even when they had a Hillary Clinton, even when it was their own white woman, even when we explicitly last election, when we had the threat of what was going to happen to Roe and everything or whatever, they still didn't give a So now I do think that Kamala, I think specifically when it comes to that vote, I would be shocked. I would be shocked if white women show up the way that would need to be showed up for Kamala because I think they see it as like it's the way. Think about how they that Hillary lost. I feel like that was gonna be the first, and I just don't see that being the thing. Like, yes, we got Obama, and Obama's a black man. Think about how many white men there were before we got that one black man. You know what I mean? We ain't had not nary one white lady.
Okay. I can't believe I'm on here sounding like I'm defending Democrats. Oh my God. Okay. So like, this is crazy, but okay. I will say that a big difference between 2016 and 2024 is that, you know, Vice President Kamala Harris actually has two white woman emissaries to go before her, right? She has Hillary Clinton, okay, whatever. But she has Gretchen Whitmer. And Gretchen is very popular, very effective communicator, and can help to like deliver Michigan, which is a critical state for them to win if they're going to win this whole thing. Gretchen Whitmer is incredibly popular in her state, and she can tour the state and bring people out and have that, and she can speak in a white woman's voice to white women in a way that I think will be important. So,
I think it'll be important. I think you're right. I'm hoping. I want y'all to win.
In Obama's administration, like instead of an anger translator, like you need a camera translator.
Like
white women
feel like, yeah, Rebecca, say what you're gonna say about white women.
White women, because my shirt says "Think Black Women," but white women. So I posted something on Threads, and so many of them that I reposted what Scotty posted about, you know, listen, Black women, take care of yourselves in this time, you know, being mindful, talking to us. Then white women came in, I'm going to be right there beside you. So many of them were in the comments. You don't have to worry because that won't be me, and I'll be right there beside you. I've seen so much in the comment section. White women, they're under other people's stuff. There's this one girl that posted about, hey, people who are not Black. She must be an AKA. She said, we'll meet to discuss how we'll be marching, like a little joke, how we'll be marching to the polls. And all white women were like, I get to be AKA for a day. Wow. So it's more so, Olay, you're like, I recall you saying at the beginning that they're looking at all oh, she's Black and she's pretty and she's an AKA and those cultural Black things that they want to be a part of. And that's what white women are drawn to. I have seen a lot of the other white women outside of that group of white women. Here we go, the soccer moms, right? They're the Drew Barrymore, they're repeating Kamala. And, they're like, she's like a mom to us. We want like that Black motherly figure.
President.
And then so she got that group of people. And then it makes me uncomfortable because these people, like, I don't know. I'm just not sure. These white people, these white women. So I haven't seen the ones, and they might be out there. They're not, they might be. I know that they're out there, but on the left side, these people want some kind of to remove anything that associates them with white supremacy. It's just, let me associate myself with I am voting for a Black Asian woman, so I'm not racist, and she's a woman and I'm pro-woman. So that's what I'm seeing more of. And it's so funny to watch the discourse online. A lot of them, there are white women who are wearing t-shirts that say a Black woman saved me. They're doing a lot of you'll see, it's all on my timeline. So that's what I'm seeing a lot of. So a lot of white women in support of it, but just not being, I want them to be naturally in support of her, but they're just doing all these cringy Black things like to try to make them seem less because white women, I know.
Should someone tell them though?
People are telling them, and they're just going. It's a large group of them. Like if I go into their comment section, their posts are going viral from them just mentioning her and saying that they're with her and that she's badass and all this other stuff. And some of the things that they're quoting of her, like the coconut thing. You saw me repost about it, Olay. I didn't know nothing about where this coconut thing was coming from, but then I went to go look it up. I went down a rabbit hole because I had a problem being a woman who's a product of Haitian immigrants. I remember what people used to tell me when it came to the coconut thing. So when I saw white women posting up this coconut thing, I'm like, are they being racist, or like, are they calling her some kind of, product of what I need to know? And so when I saw it, I'm like, oh, I think we need to rethink that whole thing. But even some white people were like, let me know if this is racist so I can either jump off of it or jump on it, because they even were saying it was coming out racist. So they're confused, but they're trying to attach to her as any way that they can, as far as I'm seeing from the left side. But it just seems not genuine, but just kind of like attaching to her because, okay, she's a woman and it's a feminist type of movement and it's this type of thing. But I guess whatever, the vote is a vote, I guess. But that's what I'm seeing. It's cringy.
I want y'all. Y'all hear me? I want to be so clear. I want y'all to be right. All y'all, I want y'all. I'm really just here. Like, I remember in my contracts class, my first year law school, the contracts professor said that there was like a study, and they like told all these like couples about to get married. They were like, "Oh, what's the divorce rate? Is this right?" Like, and they're like, "What's the divorce rate?" Let's say the divorce rate is 64%. They're like 64%, and they're like, "All right, what's the chance you get divorced?" 0%. And they're like, everybody, statistically speaking, everybody has an optimism bias except attorneys. Like everybody, like that is literally what he told us, and it's just so factual. Like you combine that with the fact that before, I live in New York City now, but before this, and the majority of being in America, I lived in Ohio, West Virginia.
Okay. We lost you for a second, Olay.
Oh, you didn't hear me? Or where did I cut out?
That you combine.
Just for the last like 5 seconds.
I say you combine being an attorney with where I lived. I live in New York City now, but I lived in West Virginia, Ohio, and Florida before that. And I'm like
I know these people.
I know that there are lots of wonderful white ladies on our side of the internet. All right. Lots of well-intentioned, super well-meaning white ladies in our comments and in our world. I don't think that's the majority of them.
But I'm not.
I know how, and not respectful too. As someone who has a large like audience of white people who like me, right? White people who like me and white women who like me. the way they like you and how they perceive you and how they critique you in the lens that they see you in is insane. You know what I mean? Even when they like to
how they look at Kamala. That's what I'm saying. But how they perceive her, how they're talking about her. But right now,
but I just mean it won't be too long. Them same white ladies will like you, and it's real mommy this, they real mama owe me too. Until somebody get a little good narrative going on you being angry, you being this, you being blah blah blah. I'm like, listen, just don't hold too firm on white ladies. That's all I'm saying.
But what I'm asking is that you got it.
I was gonna say, I feel like with a lot of these white people who come out in support of Kamala for, like I was saying, like they're almost trying to be more pro-black than even she is. And I feel like it gets to a point where they like that identity, that idea. But then when let's say she does win and then she does actually start stepping up on some pro-black stuff, that's when the narrative changes too, because it's like they want a black female president as long as she's their female president, not their actual black female president. So I think we also have to start questioning.
And that's what I expect.
Yeah, but because I even think of like, let's say even if Kamala does win, this goes back to what Rebecca was saying earlier about like, people expecting an election to be easy or whatever. And a lot of times we're expecting it to be easy because yes, we are voting for a candidate who we want to vote for, a candidate who we feel represents us and is going to fight for what we want. But at the same time, we know a lot of times the system isn't going to do that, but we have to hold our people accountable, because when we look at like when we got Obama, it's like, okay, it was cool, the idea of a black president, but did we actually apply pressure? When Joe Biden gets Trump out of office, white people celebrating like racism is over, and then here we are again with the lack of enthusiasm to vote for him, or getting to a point where he's gone, we're confused about who we're going to vote for because we basically voted for someone just because it's the right thing to do, but we didn't actually do anything about it once we did the right thing to do. So that's kind of like what I think about at this point, where it's like, okay, cool. Let's say we do get her. Then what do we do? How do we
hold her ass accountable?
Will they?
We're not going to let Obama happen again. I feel like what a lot of people's ideas, right? Like we want to hold this president to be accountable. But my thing about this being more pragmatic than optimistic is because I guess truly in my mind, I'll show my own ass. Like the only way I can see these two, the bad timeline ending, right? Like Trump getting in would have to be CNN telling me that in historic numbers, white women either voted for Trump, that voted for Hillary in 2016 or whatever metric they're using, or they just didn't come. But I think part of me does have a like voting, especially if you're white and like of a certain economic class, is like an activity that you will do almost every cycle. So it would be either they're specifically not voting for Kamala, or somehow all those people vote for Trump. Now, I'm not saying that can't even happen. That's why I'm not saying I'm not being optimistic. But pragmatically, that seems so unlikely because it might start like a civil war. Like if all of a sudden you found out like Karen's didn't vote with us that much. But I realize I sound naive. I readily admit that.
I hope I guess my worry is I hope that she rolls out some kind of strong platform, but I feel very confident that she won't, because I think what they're going to go with right now is that she's just not Biden. We needed someone more competent than Biden, and I feel like the Democrats would be scared to rock the boat and really suggest any strong platforms or policies or anything that would open up more to a debate or any like specific lines of criticism. And so then I think because we all have that, and rightfully so, the energy now that like, we just need to get her over the finish line. We're at the 9th hour. We need to try to like defeat what is Project 2025 and Donald Trump. So there isn't, like I said, people don't even want you to talk about what we think the lines of attack are going to be, let alone demand anything of her. If we were right now, like saying, if I said right now, oh, I would like a platformer for Kamala to be telling us what she do for black people, shit, shut the up right now. Like, you know what I mean? Not none of that right now. We know what we need to do, better than Donald Trump, yada, yada, yada. And that's fair and that's true. But I'm like, if we don't do it now, and it's not going to happen now, I'll be given a platform now, I'm like, likely Kamala's presidency is just, I think I just want us to be I think that's to want us have the right expectations, like temper your expectations. The same way you set yourself up for fail thinking Obama was going to do something revolutionary in you, Kamala is just going to be a more competent version of the Biden administration. Like she's not gonna, and that feels, and that's, just know that. You know what I mean? I'm just saying, like, just know that, just because that's going to be the case.
I think, like I said, we've been so sad and down for so long. So it's like this, having this moment is nice, and having the thought, me, I'm, positive Patty. So I love thinking positive. I love to be on that side of it because we all, every day we've been mad. Every day we've been marching for justice. Every day we fighting against something. So having this is like a nice glare. Again, I never gave a damn about Hillary Clinton. Okay. She never, ever, never. I'm Haitian. So if you know. However, Kamala Harris, didn't care for her either. But we're in trying times, right? So I'm kind of like, hey, yo, put that lady put her in the seat. Put her in the seat, and we will hold her ass accountable when she's in there. We will put that fire. They will do it. They will put that fire on her. Like, they will make sure, like, okay, now, girl, you in there. Now, they will do that. And it will be the same pressures that we know that she's going to feel right now. Just being a woman, and just being a woman who is, look, I can have it, Asian and Black, and, running in office in America, we already know what she's going to go through. So we got to make sure once we get her in there to hold her accountable, especially because we're going to start to see her lay out her policies, what she's going to be campaigning off of. We have to really focus on that, because she's going to start saying things that sound, like they always do, which politicians have to do, that sound sweet to our ear. And we can't just let her get in the seat and just be like, we just got her in there. No, we're going to hold her ass accountable. And then if she don't do right, we got to start putting in place and molding and shaping somebody for that when her ass is out. Hopefully she wins. But when her ass is out, we actually did the work in that time to put actually replace them with somebody good, instead of not being ready. Not being ready like we have not been ready. Okay? That's why we're in the situation we are in now. And the Republicans right now don't have to do much. They're rallying together. We saw what the RNC looked like. It was a KKK rally. There are people, it was whistleblowing of possible whatever they're telling their people to do, because we hear they're calling them Trumpites now. They're saying to, be ready, stay strapped, using verbiage like it's going to be a war to prepare for. So we're tired. Okay. So just to have a moment where we can just kind of put our hair up in a ponytail, sleep with the bonnet on, knowing the bonnet gonna stay on type of vibes. That's what we needed for a night. But now we got to get to work, because it ain't gonna be just like, it's not gonna be those nights that we had, like, 3 days ago when all those Black women got on that call. It's gonna have to now, like, really, like, invest in solidifying that seat, pushing conversations, educating people. And I was saying right now, like, what we're doing with this show, what we're doing on our platforms is going to be having to educate people on why we need to vote for her, but not just get to know who she is and what we're up against, like Project 2025, what they've already done and what they've pushed. I know, Olay girl, it ain't easy. It ain't easy, and I get it, but we have to, like, this is, at least I can say, if she don't, right? If she doesn't win, at least I can say, like, this is the only option that we had, and I fought for that to be a whole thing. I'm not saying that doesn't change my perspective on who she is, but right now I'm going to put a pin in it so that we can get her ass in the seat.
This is, okay, I think, Rebecca, you're hitting the nail on the head for me, which is that we've never been more clear than we are right now. There's no, like, crazy optimism. There's no, like, oh, this gonna be like, like,
truly no nuance November.
Like, no, like, Kamala's not gonna get us reparations or whatever it is. Like, no, there's no, like, pie in the sky kind of approach to this. We are very clear on what's happening here. And I think that is an opportunity to develop a very clear political change theory as a community. Like like I was listening to you earlier, Olay, about like, and even Rebecca, about how like white women are kind of like being a little corny right now. Let them be corny.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought that too.
like,
Yeah, don't
like,
in no way upset them. Don't say anything to them to discourage
Don't take
them.
it away from them.
Oh,
like,
You're right. When they said,
like,
I'll be
for
there
real.
for you.
Right.
I didn't dislike it. I just looked at it like, it's kind of weird. Get off me. Stop
It's a little
touching my hair.
cringe.
But okay.
It's a little cringe, but you got it. You actually got it for the next for the next 105 days. You got it. After that, like maybe not, but like go do what you need to do. Don't get upset or turned off by angry whoever it is, and do it. And like I think that's a really powerful place to be in. That I think over the many decades, Black people have always been very clear-eyed about the decisions that lie before them. But I do think that politicians have gassed us up. They have manipulated us. It made us believe that we were going to get more out of something than we would. But I'll say this other thing, like when Joe Biden won in 2020, I was living in DC. And I was out to brunch and people were driving through the city, blowing their horn, like standing on top of cars, cheering. It was the corniest thing that I'd ever seen. But the relief that folks had experienced by knowing that they would not have to deal with Donald Trump for another 4, maybe plus years was palpable, it was real, and it was really powerful. And I think if we can, and I felt a little bit of that over the last several days, like people feeling that relief of that Rebecca's describing of just like, yo, like I don't have to be stressed out about politics in the same way that I've had to be for the last 9 years. That's crazy. I think it's a really powerful thing that we have to capture. And I think a part of the problem of the Biden administration is that they've never been particularly good at messaging their wins and messaging their legislative agenda. And so you have things like the CHIPS Act. I disagree with their fracking policy, but Donald Trump is literally running on more drilling. Like I was at the RNC and the number one chant was drill, baby, drill. Well, we've actually never drilled more than we are right now. We are currently drilling more than ever before in the history of the world. And so if that's what y'all want, this is your person, right? And like I think like there's a real opportunity to change the narrative and to talk about the accomplishments of the administration and the things that it seems like are widely popular but have not been accurately or adequately messaged. And on top of all that, you don't have to worry about like the stress of politics as it has been under like Donald Trump as a potential candidate. And I think that's powerful.
Daddy.
I agree. I think that's real. But I think my issue a lot of the times, and I get it, we have our reason for why we're here, but I think people focusing on that idea of like, I want to get over the stress of politics and this and that. I'm like, well, that's also how we end up here again in another 4 years. It's like, it's not, let's vote for Kamala so we don't have to do nothing. It's like, no, vote for her. So, and then, like I was saying before, apply pressure. So we have to
agree. That's what.
Go ahead.
No, you go, Daddy.
I was really just gonna say that's how we have to change our mindset in terms of what we're, how we're voting, why we're voting, and just our responsibilities as voters, because you can't talk about changing a system or dismantling the American empire if you're like, I don't want to stress over politics for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
Come on, that's not revolution then.
Right. That's a fact. And I think that just requires us to temper. For me, all it is these are not critiques. Like any of what I'm saying is not a critique. It is me just, I think, being clear about what I think the situation we're in and what I think is going to happen. And I want us to be aware of that, because I don't think the reality is, I agree with everything Garrison is saying about how clear-eyed we are right now, right? And like it's undisputable to me that Donald Trump is the threat that we need to, get out of the office and whatever, and this is what that requires. That being said, I think because people are so clear-eyed, I think because that's how people perceive the stakes, I don't think Kamala is going to start rolling out like policy or offering us like a platform and anything like that. I think, like I said, I think we're going to get a more competent Joe Biden administration. And I think because of that, because we're so clear-eyed, because we are not expecting, the revolution or a bunch of things or crazy, and we don't feel like we can request that now, once she's in office, everybody is going to have the understanding that we didn't expect anything crazy of her, that's not what kind of candidate it is. I think people are going to lay back in their chairs. I also think because she because she's going to be overly criticized by virtue of who she is. Black people are going to recognize the because even right now, Black people are not, we're not crazy about her, but even somebody, I recognize that it's ridiculous that this person is so much more qualified, like that we live in this world. We recognize what racism is, and the fact that we even have to have these conversations and how much unfair criticism she's going to have. And so we as Black people don't stand for that, right? Like we're not going to try to add to that. We're not going to dogpile. Patrice O'Neal actually has a good joke about this with Barack Obama and his stand-up elephant in the room. But we're not going to pile onto that. So I don't think we are going to hold her accountable. We're like, in the sense of we're not, and hold her accountable isn't the right words, because I don't think you could hold somebody accountable by criticizing them for doing not doing something they never told you they was going to do. And I don't think she's going to tell us she's going to do a bunch of progressive shit. So wouldn't we hold her accountable? But I don't think we're going to move her left. I don't think we're going to try. I don't think we're going to, because she's going to be getting a bunch of shit and we're going to feel like we knew what it was. We didn't think she was going to be that candidate. She didn't promise us any of that. And I'm not saying that to be a huge, terrible thing, right? Like in the sense of, to what Daddy's saying, that I think, people, that's not what causes the revolution. But that being said, I think a mistake people have been making in terms of like what their activism or their organizing or how they think they move towards, a more revolutionary future is thinking that they were going to get it through electoral politics. So I think people are actually too focused there. So maybe, if we message right and we talk about more what people should do, maybe this 4 years will be an opportunity for people to look more inward and like more at community on how they could organize and recognize, and it doesn't come from there. And maybe people would put less stakes on these presidential elections in and of itself, so we don't have this kind of hoopla circus. And, I say that to say, I'll do my best to try and message around like Project 2025, why that's bad, what the stakes are, what this is the next thing. I just want to be, I feel like threats are more neutralized if you tell people ahead of time. Like if you tell them what the white supremacists are going to say, when they hear it, it doesn't sound so harsh to them.
The bigger threat is also uncertainty.
People hear stupid straw man arguments and bigoted arguments all the time, because it's the first time they ever heard it, they think it's deep. I think if we told everybody ahead of time, if we recognize the kind of bullshit that they're going to say about Kamala, and we tell them now, when they hear it from the right, the threat is, it fell on, it didn't do anything. So to me, I'm just trying to do not perceive any of these things I think that they're going to feel as me being pessimistic about Kamala's chances. It's me trying to be prepared for Kamala's chances and trying to temper our expectations.
No, I agree. We have to, because like I said, we unfortunately don't get the opportunity to stay in that beautiful moment. We have to be like, all right, it's been a day, but we ain't got much time. So here's what they're going to start throwing at you. Here's how you about to get ready. Here's what you about to, this is the fact that you're going to throw back at them. Here's what, and then, a plan needs to be put in place that we got to start following. We don't have much time. Please stop talking about please stop telling us about, man, because I really feel like, you know what I'm saying? Old boy from that other party would have did right. Listen, he's not. We're not going to bring him on the table. We have Kamala, and that's it. Like, let's start talking about that. Let's start moving forward and building a plan. So that's what I'm like. Yeah, you're right about that, though. I do agree. I would love to stay in this beautiful moment in the accomplishments that we have done, but unfortunately, we don't get to do that. We got to start, getting down and dirty and educating the people and doing the work. And to your point, Daddy, yes, I believe that once we get her, in seat, hopefully, we can also start holding her accountable, or like you said, or just discussing things. Okay.
Yeah. It's like, for me, it's not even just about Kamala. I'm like when I say people feeling the ease of relaxing after the election, I'm saying that's the issue. It's like, it's beyond Kamala. It's like the next 4 years, it's all the other elections that have to go on. We shouldn't be relaxing. Like, we got a lot of shit to fix, from Biden, from what Kamala will do, from what Trump. So it's like, it's not, you can't go into this with like, okay, yes, everything will be peaceful but I get it. Some people do need that.
I think the most American ass shit. I think the most American ass shit is having a heart attack every 4 years and still refusing to work out.
Yeah. That's actually so good. That's gonna be your soundbite in the intro. Oh, okay. That looks like a show.
It's a show.
Oh,
wait. I had one thing.
I got something to say.
I had one thing because I've been sitting on it
Yes.
So it's like 30 minutes in.
Yes.
Because we did have a very, okay, I'm going to take this mic. So we had a very important thing we had to address about Kamala, which is how are we going to get her the popular, how are we going to get her the black and the white vote? How are we going to heal that race, the race relation? And I knew you guys thought the same thing I thought when you guys were thinking about how to solve that problem. Family Feud. So I wrote down, like, think about this. Think about, like, we have to deal with Steve Harvey for like 30 minutes, but if you put Kamala Harris against a mixed liberal family, and like have Steve Harvey like do like, you know, because the whole point of Family Feud is like, what does America know? And then they rig it, obviously, because you don't know shit about the American people. But like that she ends up winning, everybody gonna be like, oh my god, oh the Kamala, she like you would make a whole. It would basically as close as we could get to like the Bill Clinton moment.
This country is so unserious.
It's like, so unserious. Oh my god.
World where that did well, like again happened.
Yeah, because y'all are seeing it. Y'all see the TikTok.
Not you saying I feel like you guys are on this too, and then giving this whole plan like, now, child, baby.
Just do a pop the balloon with Kamala.
Like pure foolishness. Thank you, y'all. That was beautiful.